Herkese merhabalar. Şu anda Webrazzi ofisinde canlı yayındayız. Ekranları karşısında yeni geçenler olabilir. Biraz önce Twitter üzerinden arkadaşlarımız gerekli bilgilendirmeleri yapmıştı. Umarım kısa süre içinde herkes canlı yayının başında olacak. Çünkü Webrazzi ofisinde çok değerli bir konuğumuz var bugün. Dünyanın en büyük anket servisi SurveyMonkey'nin hem kurucusu hem CEO'su Dave Goldberg bizimle birlikte şu anda. Kendisi ofisimizde. Canlı yayındayız. Onu tekrar altını özellikle çiziyorum. Canlı yayın esnasında sorularınızı sorabilirsiniz. Webrazzi hesabına veya bana Twitter üstünden sorularınızı atabilirsiniz. Webrazzi veya Arda Kutsal hesaptan atabilirsiniz. İkisini de takip etmeye çalışacağım burada. Ve sorularınız olursa Dave'e yönlendirebilirim. Tekrar özellikle belirtmek istiyorum canlı yayında olduğumuzu. Ekranlarınızı açtığınızda sorularınızı iletmeniz bize mümkün. SurveyMonkey Türkiye'ye özel bazı çalışmalar yapıyor. Türkiye'ye açılıyorlar ve bunun için de özellikle Amerika'da girişimcilerin ve yatırımcıların çok iyi tanıdığı isimden bir tanesi Dave Goldberg. Bizimle birlikte. Welcome to Turkey.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Excited to be here.
And thank you for coming to our office.
Of course.
It's a pleasure seeing you here and having you here. I was just telling a little bit about SurveyMonkey, but we better get detailed information about the company from you. Let's start talk about SurveyMonkey. What's it all?
So SurveyMonkey, we are the world's leading online survey tool. We've been around since 1999, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the starting because I think that's interesting, but I'll come back to that. But basically, we help people collect data to make better decisions, and that could be about your business. It could also be about in schools, lots of different places, but you know, how do you collect data in a structured way to make a decision? That's really a survey. And so people write their own surveys on our service and send them out to people they have some kind of relationship with. It could be a customer, it could be an employee, it could be anybody that they have some knowledge and some relationship with. And then those people respond on our site and you get the data. And it's easy. It's either free. We have a free version of our product, or we have a paid version. But the paid version is very inexpensive. It's in Turkey, I believe it's 34 lira a month. So we are very excited to be here in Turkey and launching our Turkish site. We have had customers in Turkey using us on our English site. You've always been able to create.
I was a user.
Yeah,
I am a user.
Yeah, you've always been able to create surveys in Turkish and take them in Turkish, but the site was only in English, and we didn't have customer support in Turkish. So now we really tried to make this a good experience for all users in Turkey.
How did you get involved with this business, with SurveyMonkey business? And also, you're actually an active investor on some other.
I do some investing on the side, but my main job is running SurveyMonkey. I started my first company and I sold it to Yahoo, and then I did that. I stayed at Yahoo for about 6 years. And then I left, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And so I was at a venture capital firm as an entrepreneur in residence, which is a fancy title for figuring out what you want to do next. And I got approached by another firm and said, hey, we'd love you to help us take a look at this company, SurveyMonkey. And I knew the company, I had used it, I had taken surveys, but really wasn't familiar with the business. And we were fortunate enough about 5 years ago to buy control from the founder. He had never raised any money. He and his brother kind of owned the whole business. And he just knew it could be bigger, and he didn't know how to go about doing it. So we were able to buy control from him. He's still on the board. He's still an investor. He's a great guy, but he just was like, I've kind of taken it this far. And so I started, but at the time I started, which was April of 2009, we had 12 employees in Portland, Oregon. But the business was quite large, and it was already a very big company, but there just was not very many people. So now I've kind of built the team out.
Cool.
We're mostly based in Palo Alto, and we have about 280 employees today.
Cool. I'm going to tell you a couple of words in Turkish and then get back to questions. Ekranlarını yeni açanlar olabilir. Şu anda Webrazzi'de canlı yayındayız. Dave Goldberg konuğumuz, SurveyMonkey'nin CEO'su. Dave Goldberg Amerika'da çok da tanınan bir isimdir bu arada. Yaptığı yatırımlar var. Onları bilahare sonra sohbet esnasında konuşuruz. Bir başka özelliği var burada Dave'in. You don't mind me mentioning about that part of your life. Okay. Bir başka özelliği var Dave'in. Dave aynı zamanda Facebook CEO'su Sheryl Sandberg'in de eşi oluyor bu arada. Öyle bir ufak bir detayı da size paylaşıyorum. I just gave that little information about Sheryl. Sorularınız olursa atabilirsiniz. Birazcık SurveyMonkey, yani Dave neden burada? SurveyMonkey Türkiye'de ne yapıyor? Konuşacağız. Okay, now we can talk a little bit about why you are here and what are you doing here? What's the reason of being here? So
we've seen a lot of interest in Turkey for a while. And we've seen it continue to grow despite the fact that the site was only in English.
Yep.
And obviously some of that has to do with just the international nature of this country. There's a lot of people that are fluent in English. But we think there's obviously tremendous potential in Turkey as a market. Obviously, internet penetration is growing dramatically. You have a very young, dynamic population. And so when we look at where our growth is going to come from in the future, we're very focused on international. And in particular, markets like Turkey, where we see that people are starting to switch from physical to digital in general. And as everyone gets a smartphone or a tablet,
or
both, exactly, the need to sort of collect data is great, and the ability to do so with our tool is very good. I mean, I think, if you think about when you take a survey on paper, it's expensive, it's time consuming. You've got to distribute the paper survey, you have to collect it, you probably want to enter it in a computer. All those things are very hard, so people don't do it. Yep. So to some degree we're replacing paper and pencil surveys, but a lot of times we're replacing nothing. It's sort of like people weren't doing it because it was too hard.
Yep.
And so by making it easy and either free or low cost, people can gather really interesting data from their customers. I think, if you're a startup in particular, what is it? How does this name work? Is this product something people are going to want? I mean, you need a lot of information from people, and so this is a really good tool to do that.
Cool. So you launched in Turkey now.
Yep.
And you have a Turkish site currently. And like when people log into SurveyMonkey.com, they automatically get forward to tr.surveymonkey.com, so they can see the Turkish site.
Yeah.
Even if they've been using the English site, they can now use the Turkish site. And there's a Turkish pricing as well.
Yep.
So I think you're launching it today. I mean, today or tomorrow you're gonna be launching it, yeah?
We're live today, but technically tomorrow is the official press release and stuff. But we're live today, yes.
So before your official press release, you're here at our office, which is a really good pleasure for us. So. An important question is, you launched your Turkish site today, but are you planning to have an office here, or?
We're not planning to have an office here. We don't generally put offices in any of the countries that we operate.
How many countries are you operating now? I know it's a quick question, but
we have customers in every country in the world at this point. We are now in 16 languages. I think about 39 currencies.
Wow.
that we offer.
It's not an easy operation.
No, it's complicated. We really only have offices in Europe, in Lisbon and Luxembourg. Lisbon is where we do our customer support from, and then basically everyone's in the U.S. So it's a very because we don't have salespeople, because people just come online, sign up themselves, and then if they pay, they put their credit card in. It's a pretty efficient thing. And so it's not to say we'll never have salespeople, but we don't have salespeople anywhere, and so that's the thing you would think about opening an office to do.
I'm checking the Turkish site now, Turkish
Yeah.
Turkish SurveyMonkey, and there are like 4 plans. One of them is basic, which is free.
Yep.
Second one is select, which is 34 Turkish liras per month. And the other one is gold, 449. And there's one more called platinum.
Yeah, and those are on the annual basis only. So you 449 lira per year
Yeah, that's per year. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those 2 are per year, and then
Cool.
34 per month. So the gold plan is really kind of great value for people. You can really run as many surveys as you want to as many people as you want. It's unlimited usage. It has a bunch of other
pricing
features.
is really good. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to. I would say it's slightly less than it would be in the U.S. and Europe.
I mean, I couldn't. I
Yeah, I
couldn't see
mean,
that far.
I think it's about 2 to 1 is the lira to the dollar right
Yep,
now.
it is.
So it's $300 in the U.S.
so
for
it's slightly
gold. So it'd be
cheaper, yeah.
$600 if we.
Yep.
But we wanted to. We want to be aggressive and sort of make sure that price isn't an issue for people here.
Cool. So again, few words in Turkish.
Yeah.
Birkaç açıklama yapayım. SurveyMonkey bugün itibariyle teknik olarak Türkiye pazarına girmiş oldu aslında. SurveyMonkey.com şu anda Türkçe yayın yapıyor. Girdiğinizde sizi otomatik olarak tr.surveymonkey.com'a yönlendiriyor. Biliyorsunuz dünyanın en büyük anket servisi olur kendisi. Türkiye pazarına girerken ücretsiz paketleri var. Bunun dışında 3 tane tabii ki ücretli paketleri var. Ücretli paketlerde de fiyatlar Amerika'ya kıyasla biraz daha aşağıda tutulmuş. Onu şimdi konuşuyorduk. Amerika'da 300 küsür dolarlık olan, yıllık ücreti 300 küsür dolar olan paket bizde 400 küsür lira gibi kurgulanmış. Ama dediğim gibi ücretsiz pakette var. Türkiye'de bir ofis açmıyorlar çünkü dünyanın hiçbir yerinde ofis açmıyorlar. Şu anda 16 languages you're operating. Yeah?
Now with Turkish, 16.
Yeah. 16 dilde şu anda hizmet veriyorlar. Türkçe de bunlardan bir tanesi oldu. Ekranları yeni açanlar olabilir. Dave Goldberg, şirketin CEO'su. Şu anda bizimle birlikte burada. Okay, so when did you first launch in a country other than US?
Yeah.
When was it?
About 3 years ago, we launched our first international site. So when I joined almost 5 years ago, everything was in English. We only had customer support in English. You only pay us in US dollars. And we had customers all over the world, but it was not easy for them. So we said one of the big opportunities was to be much more global as a business. And so to do that, we needed to, first of all, get in the local languages and provide customer support in local currencies. So we launched in Dutch first.
Why?
It's not exactly the first thing. We had a lot of customers already in the Netherlands, and we felt if we kind of got it wrong and we didn't quite get it right, people are very English capable and English fluent, so we would sort of have some, and we didn't have customer support in Dutch originally. We just translated the site, so we needed to be able to deal with the customer support still in English. So, but we've launched in most of the European major European languages and Asian languages at this point in time. But we'll be launching more countries. We think it's. We think most of our business over time will be outside the U.S. And today it's about a third of our business is outside the U.S., but it's growing twice as fast.
So I was going to ask why you started to go international and what was the reason, but you already gave the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think particularly for companies like ours, and when you look at other companies that are sort of similar to us, like a Dropbox or Evernote, and a lot of companies that we're similar to, we have tools, and those tools are universally necessary, how you use those tools might vary slightly by market, but generally the tool is useful and necessary all over the world. And so I think people are going to think about building these businesses globally from the beginning.
Yeah, but actually, you are the founder, also like a CEO, and you are going international. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions about entrepreneurship and like company building and stuff like that. So What should startups keep in mind when they think about going international? What's the main thing?
I think you want to think about, certainly it depends on the kind of business you're building. And obviously, I think a lot of times in some countries like Turkey, where you have a big domestic market, it's easier to go build for that domestic market first, and that makes sense. And a lot of times in companies that have been successful here in Turkey, a lot of companies in the e-commerce space, media, all things targeted at the local market. I think over time, you want to start to think about international. If you didn't design things up front to sort of accommodate that. So I don't think everyone should be global on day one, but you want to build your products and your site and your architecture and everything to accommodate that global expansion, even if it's not for 5 years, because it's very painful if you didn't build it in up front. And so I think it seems crazy. Wait, it's 3 guys in a small, apartment building a company. How can I think about being a global business? But that's exactly when you want to at least think about coding, think about design, think about those things that someday, if we're successful, we're going to want to be doing those things. And so I think it's more understanding that at the beginning, as opposed to, I don't think most companies should go global on day one.
What's the difference between being a founder and the CEO?
I started my first company. It was in online music when I was 26. I started my apartment with my friend from high school. We borrowed money on credit cards. We were very early, 1994, so 20 years ago. And when you're a founder and you don't know what you're doing, everything is trial by error, and you make a lot of mistakes. And we made a lot of mistakes in my first company, but despite that, we made it work.
I mean, you are usually more brave if you are like so young and don't have any clue about anything.
Exactly. And so you take risks, and you have no choice but taking those risks. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I think most people need to go in as a founder, as an entrepreneur, knowing that most companies fail. Most companies don't just fail in Turkey, they fail everywhere. In Silicon Valley, etc., they fail. And so you have to have that attitude of, it's likely to fail, but I'm going to learn things the first time. And if I really like it, then the second time or the third time, I'm really going to benefit from that learning. And so I went into it when I was 26 thinking it was going to fail, and feeling like even if it failed, I would have gotten a great education rather than going to business school. And the fact that it did work was kind of a nice benefit and surprise, but it wasn't how I went into it in the first place. I think now being a CEO and brought in, I've kind of had the best of both worlds in SurveyMonkey, in that it was only 12 people. So I've really gotten to build the team and build it around kind of the vision that I have. But I started with something that was already there. And the hardest part of starting a business is the first year or two, where you're trying to figure out what the market opportunity is, what the product is, and all those sort of things. So I didn't have to do those things with SurveyMonkey. I've been able to grow the business from where it was. And the other thing I was able to do, which I think is very hard for startups, I was able to hire people who were very senior and very experienced into what looked like a very small team, but knowing we were going to scale quickly and I was going to need that senior level. But in my first company, I couldn't hire people very easily who were going to scale. I had to hire the best person I had for that job at that moment in time. And what happens in a startup over time is sometimes the company grows faster than those people. And so you have to bring in people on top of them, and there's a whole bunch of sort of organizational layering that goes on, which I didn't have to do because I already had a business that was profitable and growing, and I just didn't have a team. So I was able to hire people at a much more senior level up front.
Yeah, we started talking about SurveyMonkey, but now we are talking about more like an entrepreneurship lesson.
No, I'm happy to do that.
I'm happy to do that as well. Like, I think our audience will love this kind of conversations. again, a little,
No, Turkish,
little
yeah,
brag.
go ahead.
Sorularınız varsa Twitter üzerinden Webrazzi'ye veya Arda Kusal'a gönderebilirsiniz. Bir şeyler geliyor, onu görüyorum. Biraz sonra döneceğim o sorulara. Ya çok keyifli bir sohbet oluyor. Umarım siz de keyif alıyorsunuzdur. Çünkü SurveyMonkey'nin Türkiye'ye açılması, Türkçe sayfasını açmasıyla başladık konuşmaya Dave Goldberg'le. Ama şu anda konu biraz daha böyle girişimcilik ve CEO olmak tarafına geldi. Çünkü kendisi daha önce çok genç yaşta bir şirket kurup o şirketini Yahoo'ya sattı. Ondan sonra çeşitli yerlere yatırımlar yaptı. Şu anda SurveyMonkey'nin CEO'su, çok küçük bir ekibi aldı, büyüttü. Şu anda işte 16 dilde 30 küsur farklı ülkede hizmet veriyorlar. O yüzden ondan aldığımız aslında o girişimcilik tecrübesi burada çok hassas bir önem taşıyor. Umarım keyif alıyorsunuzdur. Sorularınızı sadece SurveyMonkey olarak değil, biraz daha girişimcilik ve yatırım tarafında da aktarabilirsiniz. Onu şimdiden söyleyeyim. So you said that there were only like 12 people working at SurveyMonkey when you started, and how many people working now?
280.
280. And you just received a huge funding actually, like...
Yes.
Do you want to tell?
Yeah,
about
so
that?
I mean, so SurveyMonkey has been profitable since its beginning, and that's why the founder never raised any money. And we have done quite well, but did not think there was a lot of benefit to us in going public at this point in time. Not to say we won't ever go public, but we just didn't think there was a lot of value to going public. But we had created a lot of value in the company since we'd invested, and we wanted to be able to get investors and employees cash for their shares. And so we did, we raised $800 million.
$800 million.
$800 million. 450 million of equity and 350 million of debt.
Cool.
And we used that money to buy back shares from the employees and the investors. So it was all what we would call secondary. There was no money that went into the company. It was all just using that money to buy shares from the employees and
Instead of
investors.
going for an IPO, you did this and received the equity.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
so
What's the valuation now?
the valuation, we finished that transaction was $1.35 billion US.
Do you know what's sexy? Cool, $1.3 billion.
Yeah.
Great valuation. You can add that to the story, guys. And like totally $800 million.
It's one of the larger amounts raised in a private transaction.
I think so.
Yeah, and we brought in investors, and this is one of the learnings also I had over time as being from my first company to now. In my first company, I had some very good investors, and I also had some very bad investors. But I didn't really understand the differences and how how important a good investor is and how detrimental a bad investor is. So with SurveyMonkey, in learning from my mistakes, I've really tried to only have good investors, and so far I've been very fortunate with that. But I wanted to have investors who had a very long-term financial perspective, and my original investors are fantastic, and I have a great relationship with them. But they have a fund, and they need to return capital to their investors over a period of time. And so I looked for people for this financing who not only wanted to invest in SurveyMonkey, but wanted to invest and necessarily be in SurveyMonkey for a long time. So Tiger Global, who's probably one of the more successful international internet investors, and because international is so important to us, they've been a great partner.
They have many investments here in Turkey.
Exactly. Yes. We're going to Trendyol next, and so yes. And then I invested more personally, so I didn't take money out. I put money in. And then we also got Google to invest, a new group at Google called Google Capital, which is doing larger, later stage investments.
Cool. So, I mean, there are so many questions I want to ask.
Sure.
But I quickly checked Twitter questions and some comments. I'm going to get back to them. But first of all, there's a comment, not a question. Actually, a question and a comment. Cem Hürtürk, founder of Senloop, he says that SurveyMonkey is launched in Turkey officially, but the thing is, the company they acquired, Woofu, they don't accept registrations from Turkey. Maybe you don't know.
Yeah, and we have no. I mean, Woofu's one of our.
He's a big fan of Woofu.
Woofu's our business. Oh, you should be able to register from Turkey. I don't think we take payments in Turkey.
Yeah, okay.
So that's really the issue. One of the things, Woofu is a form tool, and we acquired it about 2 years ago, and it's a great tool to build forms for your website, and so you should be able to sign up and use Woofu in Turkey, although the site's only in English today. But I don't think we can actually accept payments through Woofu in Turkey. So that's the issue.
There are a couple of questions. I'm gonna just put them all together and ask that. People are asking about being able to do offline mobile surveys, first of all, and secondly, asking about using social media and SurveyMonkey together. What kind of features you have?
Yeah, so I mean, we've done a lot of work to make the survey response form very optimized for mobile, so you can take it on a tablet and on a smartphone. We don't have today the ability to do it in an offline mobile mode. It's something we're looking at. Although more and more people are connected these days all the time, so the need to be offline and take a survey on mobile seems to be going down. But it's something we're considering, but we haven't built that. But certainly mobile surveys is a big part of what people use us for. In social media, absolutely, it's a huge part of how people use us. We have an embed where you can embed your survey in a page, and we have a special one to embed it in your Facebook page. And so we see a lot of usage of that embedded product. People embed us in their blogs, etc., so that you can take the survey right there.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of SurveyMonkey, by the way. I use the service for a long time, and now we are really considering using it for our professional purposes as well, because we have this service called Webrazzi Pro, which is like data aggregator.
Yeah.
And we are planning to publish some research and reports there. And currently we use our own platform to do that. But what we are planning to do is use SurveyMonkey, and especially if it's possible, because I know that you only provide in US, we need like a panel audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You only have it in US.
Today we only have it in the US, although we have some partnerships with some people that provide it outside in other countries. And so we will certainly, based on your interest, and I'm sure there'll be interest from other people, look at opportunities to get panel for people in Turkey. I think what we're concerned about is a lot of the some panels in some countries tend not to be of very high quality. And we would want to make sure that if it's not our own panel that we're using, that we're giving people high quality respondents. But it's certainly something we'd love to provide in Turkey.
Perfect. By the way, I'm using two devices now.
Multiple
one of them is Webrazzi account, the other one is my own account. So let's get, I'm going to get back to the questions in a minute, but I have a couple of more questions, and we have actually limited time left, a couple of minutes left. Few words in Turkish, and then ask a little bit more questions and get some questions from audience again. Sorularınız varsa alabiliriz. Bu girişimcilik ve yatırımlarla alakalı olabilir veya SurveyMonkey'nin kendisiyle ilgili olabilir. Programın başında belirttiğim gibi SurveyMonkey Türkçe sayfasını açtı. Şu anda yayında. Yarın bununla ilgili bir basın bilgilendirmesi bültenleri yayınlanacak. Öncesinde Webrazzi ofisine geldiler. Ve Dave Goldberg burada. Ofisimizde çok değerli bilgiler aldık kendisine, yani hem SurveyMonkey ile ilgili hem girişimcilik ve CEO olmakla ilgili. Son birkaç dakikaya girdik, biraz sonra programı kapatmam gerekecek çünkü onların da başka toplantıları var devamında. Eğer sorularınız varsa sormaya devam edebilirsiniz. Ben aradan çekip soruları soracağım. Building a talented team. I really want to talk about this because you found a company, now you're a CEO of a company. So how do you build a talented team, especially as a startup?
Yeah, I think you have to look at it as building a talented team. Sometimes people look at it as like, oh, I want everyone to be really great at everything. And I sort of think everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. I have strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
And so I look at it as it is really about building a talented team, but that talented team is made up of a group of people who are really good at certain things, and as a whole, you've kind of filled all of the needs that you have on a team. I spend a huge portion of my time recruiting. In the beginning, my first year at SurveyMonkey, that was pretty much all I did. Now it's probably 25 to 30% of my time.
Wow.
It's just really important. Like the companies we're building, the companies people here are building, it's all about the people. And so if you don't have great people and you don't motivate them and find ways to take advantage of their strengths, it's not going to work.
Yep.
I also sort of believe that you want to play to people's strengths and not their weaknesses. A lot of times people are always saying, well, if only he did this better, if only he did that better, he'd be perfect. And it's sort of, I sort of think, you know what, let's find what someone's really good at and what they're passionate about, and hopefully that fits with what you need done, and then put other people around that person who have different interests and different passions, so you get everybody as a whole doing the right thing. But it's like any kind of sports team. If you have everybody who's really good at the same things, it doesn't work. You need people with different skills, and so I like sort of finding really talented people, and we hire people with a mixture of experience, and then I also hire people who are what I would call great athletes. Smart, talented, young, maybe don't have an experience, but we look to bring them into the organization, and then they learn and they get experience, and then those are some of your best people long term, because they've really got the kind of core horsepower, but also they've kind of learned inside your business.
Yeah. I mean, I know you have a couple of more meetings outside, so I want to really keep it short, but I need to ask these questions.
Sure, yeah. I have time. I'm good.
I'm going to ask those two questions quickly. One of them is, how do you scale technology? Because like you are operating in like 16 languages, 30-something countries.
Yeah. 75 million responses a month.
Really?
Yeah.
So how do you scale technology?
I think, again, it's sort of about starting from a framework of we're going to build something to scale, knowing when you're building it, it's got to scale. And it's hard when you're a startup, you don't do those things. So we've actually had to rebuild our entire architecture at SurveyMonkey over the last 4 years. We're mostly through it. We haven't completely finished. Because the founder built something that scaled but was very, sort of 10 years ago, kind of the way to build things, and things have changed. So we've had to rebuild it, and I think it's nice in web companies that you can kind of rebuild things in pieces. And so our customers don't know when they're on the new part of our product or the old part. They're just using it, and it all works seamlessly. It's a lot of work on our end, on the back end. Again, kind of like thinking about globalization early on, thinking about scaling early on, even if you don't actually need to scale it out, you want to think about how it's going to scale. A lot of businesses that didn't work because they failed at the scaling part. And why did Friendster fail in social media? It was one of the earliest social media sites. It failed because it fell over. It couldn't handle all the load as soon as people started joining. So they had a lot of the right ideas, but they just couldn't handle it. So thinking about that stuff up front is really important. And obviously having a great team, and I'm very fortunate, we've got a great team, people who think about these things.
And especially for SurveyMonkey, it's really important to scale up, because mostly it's a paid service. Obviously you have like free services, but it's a professional service.
Sure, people are paying us money. I mean, they expect it to work, absolutely.
There are a couple of more questions. There's a business proposal. We're a startup in Turkey that we build an offline mobile survey platform. Can we contact you?
Sure, they can contact me. It's probably not something we're going to sort of do with somebody else, but I would encourage them to use our tool.
Yeah, they can get in touch with you via Twitter, I think, right? Because Dave Goldberg.
Dave Goldberg.
Dave Goldberg.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, and actually, I'm gonna.
The benefit of being on Twitter early is I was able to get my own name. Yeah.
And there's another question. How do you position companies like Nielsen, GfK?
Yeah, the big research firms. Those are the big market research firms, and we're in a different category than what they do.
I mean, is there a competition between?
We don't really compete with them. No. I think what people use us for is what they might have either done in paper and pencil or in an email or a hallway conversation. A lot of our usage is not just surveying customers, but it's actually surveying employees. So companies use us to get feedback from their employees as well, or plan an event. So let's say you want to plan the next Webrazzi conference. You might send out a survey to people. Well, who would you like to see as the speakers? What kind of venue would you like to have it at? What kind of food should we serve?
About the speakers part, I'm going to talk to you personally.
But all those kind of things. So it's a lot of use cases that have very little to do with what market research firms do. And I think market research firms, really their value is in analyzing the data, and it's not so much about just the tool collection part. So, at some point in time, they may want to use our tool to do what they do, but we don't really view ourselves as competing with them, and they don't view themselves competing with us either.
So who are your customers? Who are your clients, actually?
It's everything. It's big companies, it's small companies. Half of our customers are in education, nonprofit, or government, because they have the same sort of needs. So, schools surveying parents, students, and professors at universities using us to do research. Why should you do a paper survey when you're a psychology student when you can do an online survey? So lots of different use cases. But in the US, we have every big company as a customer, but it's individuals inside those companies. Again, we don't have large corporate contracts. And that's the case sort of globally. We have big companies and small companies, lots of startups. I think because we're very inexpensive and easy to use, people come to us, no matter their size.
We are totally out of time now, so I'm gonna finish it. But I must ask this question. Do you have any plans of acquiring any company here in Turkey? I'm going to change the question. The question is about any plans about acquisition in Turkey, but I'm going to change the question. Do you acquire companies in other countries while you are expanding?
We haven't acquired any international companies, but we have looked at it. We've done a couple acquisitions in the U.S., Wufoo being one, and a couple of others. We certainly would. If we found something that was a good fit for what we do, we certainly are very open to it. It has to be something that makes sense for us. But yes, whether it was Turkey or someplace else, absolutely. We look at a lot of things. We probably look at about 100 companies a year.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And what do you look at a company? The client base or technology they have?
I think it's first of all the team, because that's very important to us. We don't just buy technology. We have a team, and most people that from the business we've had acquired, we've kept the people. Technology is important, and customers, and sort of the use case that those customers have, and how it fits with our business.
I can talk for a couple of more hours with you, definitely. It's really great talking to you, but we need to finish.
Nope.
I'm all right, I can go on, but you have meetings.
Absolutely.
Your colleagues are looking at me. So, one last question. What's next for you and SurveyMonkey?
Well, I think we're excited to be here in Turkey. I think you're going to see us do more countries, more globalization. I think we're working on a number of things in mobile, and expanding kind of panel, a lot of those things. So, and really, this is about taking something that's really easy to use, that helps people collect data to make decisions. And so we look at that as all the different use cases that our customers use us for. How do we make those easier for them? How do we help them do those things that they're doing more easily?
And for you personally?
For me personally, I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah?
This is exciting.
It's really great having you here,
Absolutely.
being at our office. I mean, like, it's good to see SurveyMonkey launched in Turkish. It's a good thing to see. And thank you for coming here, announcing it at Webrazzi office before press release. Thank you. And I hope you good luck in Turkey, and you have this launch event tonight.
Yes.
Actually,
yes.
I'll be there as well.
Great. Awesome.
And so thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Umarım keyif almışsınızdır. Dave Goldberg'e çok teşekkür ediyoruz geldiği için tekrardan. SurveyMonkey Türkçe'yi açtı. Canlı yayını burada sona erdiriyoruz ama yani canlı yayın bittiği anda videoyu izleyebileceksiniz baştan başlayarak. Onun için hiçbir sıkıntı yok. Programın başını kaçıranlar hemen en baştan başlayabilirler program bittiği anda. Çok sağ olun izlediğiniz için. Dave'e teşekkür ediyoruz. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Görüşmek üzere. Hoşça kalın. Bye.